Hello, it is Mary Kay Riley with the Campbell County Extension Office, back with another fun science video that you guys can do at home, as well as watch the video that I'm about to do for you. So what we're doing today is something called DNA extraction. We're going to take a strawberry and break it down so that we can actually see the DNA inside of it. Now, I'm going to explain everything later while we're waiting for a specific step to finish up, but please keep watching. The end result is very cool, and I'm hoping you learn something as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my strawberries here, put it into this Ziploc bag, and just start smushing it up until it's nice and squished and pretty chunky and not a whole strawberry anymore. So just break it apart a little bit. This is fun for kids because they get to kind of make a mess without actually making a mess. This is the kind of mess you can get behind because it's kept in a Ziploc bag, but it's still fun to squish it up. It doesn't need to be super squished up, but just enough that it's broken into chunks and you can see some of your strawberry juices hanging out in the bottom of the bag. So that's nice and squished and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and make what I like to call our extraction solution. This is a liquid mixture that we're going to put into our strawberries so that we can actually pull the DNA out of those strawberries and be able to see it. So the first thing that you need for your extraction solution is just 2 teaspoons of water. So just add that to the bottom of your glass. Next, you will need about a 1/4 teaspoon of some dish soap. And then finally, you will need a pinch of salt for this extraction solution. Not a whole lot of stuff goes into this extraction solution, but it does its job, and that's great. So now you're going to mix it all together so that you have your solution all ready to go. It's nice and sudsy, which means it's perfectly mixed. And now I'm going to take my extraction solution and just pour it into the bag with my strawberries so that we can mix that together. So again, this is where you get to have a little bit of fun because you're still kind of squishing up those strawberries a little bit, and it's pretty neat. So I'm just going to mix this all together, and then I'm going to do something really cool next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paper towel, put it over the top of the cup. You can use the same cup that you've been using this whole time. It doesn't need to be a brand new cup. Don't make a whole lot of dishes if you don't want to. It's perfectly fine. So I'm going to take this paper towel, put a rubber band around it so it stays on top of the glass, and make a nice little divot in the top of this so that we can kind of create a strainer for our strawberries. If you don't have an actual rubber band, a hair tie works really great. I just didn't have a rubber band, so I've been using a hair tie. If you have rubber bands, use rubber bands. Like I said, make sure there's a nice divot in the top so that you can actually pour the strawberries down in there, and there's enough of a divot that's where the liquid is going to come out. So I'm now going to pour my strawberry solution in the top of this mug. Get it all out, and then we're going to go ahead and just wait a couple minutes while that strains. While that's straining, I'll go ahead and explain what's going on. So DNA is what we're trying to get out of these strawberries. DNA is a tiny molecule that exists in every living thing. So it's in you and me, it's in your pet dog or cat, it's in the trees and plants, it's in anything that is alive. Your couch doesn't have it, your bed doesn't have it, rocks don't have it, they're not alive, but anything that's living does indeed have DNA. DNA has a cool shape. It looks like a ladder that someone took and twisted. It's called a double helix. Just a pretty cool shape, and it's pretty neat because DNA is actually what determines what you look like and how your body functions. Without DNA, your body would not know how to function, and it would be a hot mess. So DNA is in charge of having all of the instructions so that your body knows what to do. And again, it's super cool because that's what makes every human being look different. So every human being has slightly different DNA, and that is why no two people look alike unless you're an identical twin, and then you do look alike. But I have, blonde hair, blue eyes. That's because of my DNA. I have a sister with brown hair, and again, that's because of her DNA. And it's pretty cool because this tiny little microscopic, beyond microscopic molecule determines what each of us looks like, and it's so small, but it makes such a big difference, so it's a big deal. DNA lives in every single one of your cells. So all living things are made up of tiny little building blocks called cells. So cells come together to make tissues, tissues come together to make organs, organs come together to make organ systems, and all those organ systems come together to make an organism like you and me, or your dog, or any of those living creatures. We are what is called a multicellular organism, which means lots and lots and lots of cells come together to make you be a human being. There are organisms out there that are single-celled, so they're only made up of one cell, and that's enough for them to be alive and productive. Things like bacteria, algae, those kinds of creatures are all single-celled organisms, and they can function with just one cell. We, however, are multi-celled organisms, so we can only function, we have to have lots and lots of cells to function. So what I've done is I've taken my extraction solution and added it to my strawberry, which goes in and breaks apart those cells so that the DNA can escape from the cells and be like floating around and having a good time. Each part of my DNA extraction has a function. The water's main function is just there to help us mix everything together. The dish soap is what actually physically goes in and breaks apart those cells so that the DNA can come out. And the salt was added so that when we add do our next step, the DNA actually clumps together so that we can see it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see it, and it would be kind of a bust. So it looks like I've got a decent amount of liquid coming out of this mixture, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up and put this over here. So you'll see I have a nice amount of liquid in the bottom of my glass there. So now for the final step, I'm going to add some really cold rubbing alcohol. Now this has been in the freezer because this experiment does not work if the rubbing alcohol is not super cold. So if you decide you want to do this experiment, the rubbing alcohol needs to be in the freezer for about 30 minutes before you can use it. If you don't have time to wait 30 minutes today, this is something you can always throw the rubbing alcohol in the freezer today and wait a couple days and then do it. Rubbing alcohol does not freeze, so you don't need to worry about that, but it is important that it be cold because otherwise this wouldn't work. So now I'm going to pour my rubbing alcohol into this glass, and you'll see I have a cloud of like swirling stuff on the bottom. I am now going to take a fork so that you can see it a little better, and you'll see that we have a cloud of gunk. That is actually the DNA that we've extracted. So that is DNA. That glump of stuff is the strawberry's DNA. Kind of gross looking, but pretty cool that we can see such a tiny little molecule with just a couple steps that we do at home. I've included the link to the article that I used for this experiment. Feel free to do this experiment. If you do, I'd love to see pictures of your DNA extraction and see how well it worked. There's also a link to another procedure where you can actually do this with your cheek cells. I decided to not do the cheek cell one just because it's a little gross. You have to swish some Gatorade in your mouth and spit it out. It's kind of gross. But if you decide you want to do it, again, send me pictures of the DNA that you extracted. My email is going to be in the description as well. And I have also included a link to a website with some fun DNA information so you can learn a little bit more about DNA, as well as an activity that you guys can do at home that isn't this experiment, that is fun and DNA related and something you can do as well. Please follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're continuing to post really cool activities for you guys to do while you're at home. I know Kelsey put together a photo contest so that you guys can get out and take pictures of cool things while you guys are self-isolating. I know Katrina is doing yoga videos as well as story time videos that are related to science, so keep an eye out for those because those are pretty cool as well. And then we still have our grab and go gift kits that you guys can grab from the office most days from 9 to 4. check our Facebook page. We post most mornings that say grab and go kits are available, so watch out for those posts. As the Facebook posts say, if you do grab and go, please, please, please take pictures and send them to Sherry Farley so that we can see those. They're really, really cool. And we love seeing what you guys are doing while you guys are stuck at home. So that's it for today. I will be back soon with another science video. Hopefully next time I'll go outside for it, but we'll see what happens. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed.